G'day, it's Joel Rasmussen from Southern Cross Combat, and I'm here bothering a man who is meant to be down here on a holiday. I'm here bothering Mr. Cody Haddon. Cody, I thank you very much for the time. How are you enjoying Melbourne?
I love Melbourne, man. This place is awesome, and any opportunity I get to come back here, I will always take it. And the great Hex have flown me over, and I'm very grateful for that. And yeah, I'm going to be attending the show tomorrow night, and yeah, just great to be here. Hey.
Melbourne is incredibly happy to have you. It's always a pleasure when you come to town. You mentioned a few things there. One of the things I wanted to talk about with your teammate, Mr. Quillen Salkild. Not only will you be attending Hex, you're doing a seminar as well tomorrow. How do you find being like a coach and being like having to teach people stuff?
Whenever I started training jiu-jitsu, it was like I started training jiu-jitsu, and then like a year after I was like helping the kids class underneath me. So I've always taught and learnt at the same time. I always kind of took that role, whether it was at my jiu-jitsu gym or even at my boxing gym. I started running like kids classes and stuff like that. So I've always taught. So I find that teaching is another way of making you understand things a little bit deeper. And I feel like, it's one thing to have the knowledge, but then to be able to teach someone from scratch, to be actually able to do that, I appreciate what that does for me to even make me understand it better, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, I've always taught. So for me, it's like second nature. I love teaching, to be honest. Yeah, whenever I can, I just love that. You show someone something, they can't get it, and then if you really have to pick apart what they're doing wrong to figure out why they can't do it, and then try to make them be able to do it, and then you get great fulfillment then seeing them be able to do it, and then you're like, oh yes, that's awesome. Yeah, so I love it. Yeah, I love teaching. Yeah.
You are also in town, as you mentioned earlier, for Hex. As a man who has seen the other side, a man who has made it to the promised land, a man who has debuted in the promised land, how is it to kind of be back and amongst guys who are still kind of hungry and on that come up?
Yeah, it's like I don't feel any different, and I feel the same as them. So like, there's a couple bantamweights on the card, and I'm watching them, and I'm like, man, I reckon like that'd be a hard fight for me, So I feel like yeah, it's like I just feel the same as them. Like, Hex is producing such talent at the moment, and yeah, I'm so excited to see what some of these other fighters can do, And I've never really been in the position where I'm like cage side but not fighting. Like generally when I go to an MMA event is like I'm cornering for my own team, but I haven't been to an event in a long time that I've actually just watched. I mean, I'm lying actually. I went to the Dana White Contender Series. I watched Sean Gauchi fight and stuff like that. But I was fighting after that, so I was kind of in like fight weight cutting mode. But right now I'm here on holiday, and to be honest, man, it's weird. Whenever I'm like watching MMA live and I see like a brutal knockout, I'm all like, oh shit, and I get all like freaked out by it, and I'm like, oh, I hope he's alright and this and that, and then I realize like, brother, that's what you do, And I'm like, it's like, I don't know, it's weird, man. It's just so weird. But I love like going to the shows. I'm a big MMA fan, so yeah, and I kind of keep tabs on like a lot of the local scene, obviously still because I'm only so fresh into the international scene, and who knows, if you go on a skid, you might be back on the international on the local scene soon, Not that that's gonna happen, but so I'm still looking at it like, yeah, I could still match up with any of these guys one of these days. So I'm like, yeah, even though I respect them, I'm also just like, yeah, could be future potential opponents, some of them. So, yeah.
There's a few things in there I want to talk about, but one that did poke out to me. So you were in attendance for the Anthony Drillich-Sean Gauchi fight?
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
What did you make of that fight?
The first round, not much happened. I feel like they both respected each other probably a bit too much, as in they didn't let their hands go. But like Dana even said, it was a great technical battle back and forth. Me personally, I've heard a few people say that Anthony won. I strongly disagree. I think Sean won that fight. I think it was like quite clear that Sean won that fight. But yeah, like Sean, it looked like he was respecting Anthony's power a bit too much and didn't really let his hands go until like, and he knows this as well, didn't let his hands go. And then that last, minute of the fight or last 2 minutes of the fight, he obviously started letting it all go and, got that takedown and stuff like that. and then started going ham for the finish. And it's like, man, maybe if he did that from the start, like far out, he might have gotten a contract even, you know, not taking away from the fact that he's a spectacular fighter, but then also he did break his hand in that second round. So it's a harsh world. Like me personally, I think Sean Gauchi deserves to be in the UFC, no doubt. And I'm pretty sure any other fighter in Australia or any coach would probably agree with me that he deserves to be there. It's just a shame that, like, you know, Dana can be pretty cutthroat at times. And, I mean, yeah, the fight wasn't the most exciting fight, but it's hard, man. When you're fighting someone that, you know, they could, like, either one of them has power, it's a risky fight. If anyone risks it, might be open to get caught. I completely get that, you know. And at the end of the day, when you're in there, you kind of just, you're trying to get the win. You're not trying to impress, like, fans and stuff like that. You know, it's like you're just trying to get the job done. So, yeah, like, yeah, I feel like Sean will go back. He'll learn a lot from that. Like, as in his next fight, you'll probably see him be a lot busier because, like, he's fit, man, and he has the skills everywhere. He can push the pace the whole time. I think it was more just, I think maybe Sean respected Anthony's power a bit too much, which, yeah, has some due respect for what he's been doing to people. But me personally, like, I know when I fight, I don't care how hard they hit or how many people they've knocked out prior. I'm still gonna go at them, like, and just try to get rid of them as quickly as possible because that's the way I like to do things. But yeah, like I said, Sean definitely deserves to be in the UFC. It's not a matter of if he will get there, it's a matter of, like, when. And I believe he should have been there yesterday or the day before that. So, yeah.
Talking about, you said the phrase, you know, Dana can be cutthroat. I want to talk about kind of that cutthroat. And I want to talk about your attitude you touched on before. You said, you know, a couple bad performances and you could be back on the national circuit. What is your attitude kind of to making it to the UFC? Because I said, you know, earlier in the interview, I said, you've made it to the promised land. You've made it. I heard you talking about it earlier tonight, so I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on it. Like, you are a UFC fighter. You've won your debut. You're putting on great performances. But what is your attitude to being in the UFC?
Yeah, it's like, in one way, it's a big weight being lifted off my shoulders, as in, like, since 6 years old, I wanted to get to the UFC. So in one way, it's a bit of a relief, but also in another way, it's another load of pressure because it's like you're on the world stage now. It's like you know, it's like you've studied it. I don't know, you've uni or high school, and you know you've done like ATAR, and then you've gone into uni, and you've done that for however long, and then you finally land a good job, like a great job, and you're like, okay, don't fuck this up. That's where I'm at with it now. I'm like, don't fuck this up. But also, to be honest, I just feel like I'm just here to have a good time at the same time. It's like, I just want to make money, and I don't have to try and be exciting. When I fight, it is exciting. To be honest, it's that scary and nerve-wracking. I just try to kill that person before they kill me, and people seem to want to watch that, you know. So I don't go out there and try to be all like, people like, bro, you just go nuts from the get-go, and I'm like, yeah, that's not intentional. I'm just shit scared, bro. So I'm like, take him out before he takes me out, and that's just my mentality. And nothing's gonna change. And I tell you what, if you tune into any of my fights, it's gonna be exciting because that's it. It is really kill or be killed for me, you know. And yeah, I'm most excited to just make some money because I've been doing this shit for free for way too long, and I feel like I deserve to be compensated for like 20 years of hard fucking work to get to where I am now. So now that I'm here, in my mind, I'm just having a good time and just rolling with it. I'm not looking like too far ahead. I'm not looking at like, oh, I would love to fight this guy. I'd love to fight that guy. I'm just shocked that I'm even here and it's happening, and every day I'm just grateful that I'm actually here and that it's all worked out for me. And I'll just give it my best shot. That's all I can ask of myself. Give it my absolute best. And every fight I do and my preparation, I give it my absolute best. And I think at the end of the day, if I give it my absolute best and then it doesn't work out and I go on a massive skid, so be it, right? It's like, what else are you going to do? You know? So, yeah, I'm just, like I said, I'm here. I'm having a good time. Feel like big weight's been lifted off my shoulders, you know, and I'm just ready to make some serious money now, you know. I just can't wait for that.
I absolutely agree with you. I do agree you deserve to be very rightfully compensated for your time in the sport. I just want to point out, I like how earlier in this interview you were like, MMA is a brutal sport and it's so horrific to watch. And then you're like, I try to kill the guy who's standing across from me, the duality of man.
That's it. It's like I'm not really like. I feel like I'm a nice person, but also like deep down, I do just like I have this savageness within me. Is like if I'm fighting someone and they don't wake up that next day, it's not my problem, brother. You signed up for it, and I hope that they're in that same mindset because I know, like I said, I've had some horrific injuries and I've been hurt in this sport and I've been hurt in many combat sports, and I know it's no joke. But if I'm gonna make serious amounts of money, this is probably the only way I'm going to be able to make serious amounts of money, and hence why I'm doing this sport, because I just happen to be good at fighting people, you know. So there's nothing else I've ever been excellent at, and I guess I might be excellent at this. So this is what we got, and this is what we've going with, and since I seen that at a young age, I never like turned my back. That was it. It was like if I'm gonna make something of my life, it's going to be through fighting, you know, and that's always been it for me. And like, I love fighting. It's always came natural to me. And like, I'm super grateful for like far out without fighting. I wouldn't have been, you know, flown to Melbourne just to attend an event, man. So like, I'm just super grateful for what the sport and what combat sports has given me. So yeah, just so happy to be here. Hey.
The scene is happy to have you. And I want to talk about that happiness. When we spoke before your UFC debut, there was a real, you talked to me about like, everything's riding on this. This is what all the work's been for. We're here. This is the dance. Got to perform. But now you're talking to me and you're talking about how happy it is to be here and what your goals are. You're here to make money. And you're talking about this concept, which I don't think is going to happen, but this concept of going on a skid. Well, if I tried my best, I'm happy for it. It does seem like a weight's been lifted. You used that phrase earlier. After that win, like where has it seems to be, to me, the almost lack of anxiety now. Like almost like that weight has been lifted. How has it been? And what was it about? Was it the win that's kind of lifted that anxiety?
No, not really. Like for me, it was always, I guess now, to be honest, what it is like, I always wanted to get like to the UFC, and the fact that I wasn't in there, I guess I just didn't feel worthy enough deep down. Now that I'm there, I just feel way more worthy, like just a way more worthy human being, you know, and that's, who knows where that comes from. It might be like self-esteem, might be from my upbringing, who knows. But deep down is like without being there is like, it just made me feel unworthy and like I'm not worth anything. But now that I'm there, I just feel way more worthy. And then I guess looking from the outside in, it just looks like, like you said, like a huge weight's been lifted off my shoulders and I'm free now in a sense. And it's like, essentially, yeah, I'm the same person, but I just feel a lot more at ease with it now because it's like I do feel worthy now. And before maybe I didn't because it was never enough. Like, yeah, beating this guy's never enough. Who cares about that guy? You're not in the UFC yet. And I'm very like hard on myself and I am a perfectionist. And if I'm not where I want to be and deserve to be, yeah, it just shits me. And so it made me just feel for a bit that, well, maybe I am. Like, I remember, like, I always tell this story. It was my 18th birthday. I was in tears that I wasn't in the UFC yet. That was my dream. So I guess my whole life I've felt unworthy until now. Once I've finally got here, now I feel like I'm worth something, you know? So, yeah, to be honest, yeah, it has been a weight lifted off my shoulders. But as well, this is just the beginning. You know what I mean? Yeah, like my whole life, my whole upbringing has always been geared towards me making it to the UFC, and that's been like my golden ticket. And until that happened, it was kind of like I was just a dream chaser, and it was just kept chasing, not ever knowing if it was ever going to work out. Now that it has worked out, I'm actually blown away. Like every day, even you interviewing me now saying, oh, Cody, you know, how does it feel now to be a UFC fighter? I'm like, holy shit, I'm a UFC fighter. That's how I feel. Every time someone comes up to me, even today, man, at the Hex Weigh-ins, I had people coming up to me, man, congrats, well done. And I'm like, oh yeah, no shit, I did that. I did do 2 fights just on that. Like, in my mind, it's like I still don't believe it. Like I'm having a bit of imposter syndrome, you know what I mean? Like, or is that what you call it? Something like that. You know, I'm still like, you know, I guess the more I do it, the more, but who knows, man, I feel like when you come from like my upbringing, I feel like I'm always gonna feel like that. I'm just always gonna feel in shock about it, and it's always gonna be hard to mentally accept that this is reality, because it's so far fetched from something like that that it just seems so impossible. You know what I mean? From like being here and wanting to be there and doing great things, and then that's why when you ask me like, you know, what am I like, or what am I most excited about now, is literally to make money, because I've never had any money. My family, they've never had any money. I wouldn't know what to fucking do with money, you know? And like now the fact that potentially I could, you know, have money for me, my family, you know, eventually one day have kids, get married, buy a house. Those things to me is things that I've never even thought would have been impossible with how I grew up. I never thought that would even be a thing that I'd be able to achieve. Just those basic things. And then the fact that I would be able to provide for not only my generation, but then my kids' generation and then their kids' generation. That motivates me more than anything, you know. So just having money and being able to, you know, raise a family and them have a good life and not go without and stuff like that, that brings me like great joy. So that's why I want to make money, you know.
If you could talk to that 18-year-old kid who cried because he wasn't in the UFC yet, what would you tell him?
Don't change anything, because you're doing exactly what you need to be doing, and everything happens for a reason, and your time will come, and you don't need to know why, what, when and where. Just keep going. You literally don't have. I would tell him, stop trying. Stop trying. In your mind, stop trying, and just be, and it will happen, because that's your destiny. That's what I'd say.
You talked about you're not sure where that kind of feeling of fighting to be worthy kind of comes from, and I want to two things I want to ask about that. The first thing is, you said you don't know where it comes from. Is that anything, that level of like dedication and that level of like infatuation with something, is that ever like a worry?
Like in what sense?
Like I'm
Like as in, I need to be this to feel worthy. To be honest, man, I feel like I said, even if I did go on a skid now, no one would be able to take the fact that I actually made it to the UFC and I fucking debuted and I did all of this. Like if I like got hit by a bus tomorrow, like yeah, I'd be Devo and let's say I'm in a wheelchair, but no one would be able to take away the fact that I did this. That's a fact, you know what I mean? So I think that now that I've got there, regardless of what happens from here, I definitely do feel more worthy within myself just because of what has happened, you know? And plus I know, like, you know, anything can happen in a fight, yes, but I'm not going anywhere. I'm not getting hit by a bus tomorrow. I'm going to do great things in the UFC and I'm going to make a lot of money, you know, and I'm going to look after those people who, you know, that I want to, you know, and yeah, like, and then I'm just going to feel even more worthy. The fact that I'm doing that, you know, I'll feel more like a man, someone who can provide properly for their family and you know, be able to take other people out of hardship that need a bit of help, you know, and just be able to give back to the community. Like, when I say I want to make money, it's like, oh, people might think, oh, it sounds pretty selfish, but if you know what I actually want to do with that money, it's way bigger than even my life. I want to do things for people who, you know, have grown up without things and have gone without, and be able to help those people who really need it, you know. I want to do great things for the community, you know. And I've always wanted to do that. Hence why I always taught kids classes, you know, because I've always loved giving back. And I just want to be able to be in a position where I can give back. And I think first and foremost, that will probably make me feel the most worthy, being in a financial position where you can actually give back, because that is the greatest pleasure, is giving back, not taking but giving, you know. So, yeah.
And that level of dedication, that level of, I'm going to use the word obsession if I'm allowed to use that word. Do you think that is what's required to be great, and that's kind of what separates the men in the UFC to the champions in the UFC?
Yeah, I think that like you don't need to be absolutely obsessed with it, like like as in every single day of your life, but for a good for a good amount of time, you do need to be obsessed with it, because that is what will get you in the gym. That will get you acquiring the skills. That will get you to not fall off the boat. This and that. Once you've
Cody, I'm your biggest fan. What's happening?
He's next. He's next.
UFC's Cody Haddon.
How are ya? We got 2 potential UFC fighters right here. What are you boys talking
Of course.
Look at these boys.
Fighting tomorrow night.
Yeah. Nah, so oh, you fucking got me off track now. Well,
I thought he was going to come and push you, dude.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, I was getting ready to brace, bro. I'm like, we're going in together. I was just asking if you think that kind of level of obsession. Please step closer to me. Sorry, no, you're good. If you think that kind of level of obsession is what's needed to go from a guy in the UFC to a guy who's high in the UFC and a guy who's a champion.
I think even to get to the UFC, at some point you have to be absolutely obsessed to even acquire that amount of knowledge and put yourself through that absolute bullshit that fighters put themselves through to even make it to the UFC, especially coming from a place like Australia where, you know, you just keep chipping away and you don't hear anything from these guys. There's no inkling that you might get signed, nothing. It's just, and then one day it's like, boom, will he fight on this day, yes or no? And it's like, where did that come from, you know? So, yeah, you have to be absolutely obsessed. I feel like, though, you know, once you got your feet under you and you get, you know, up there and you start acquiring knowledge, yes, you have to be obsessed, but it also has to be like a healthy obsession. It can't be an unhealthy obsession where, you know, there's a training session where, you know, it didn't go as well as you want and you kind of like beat yourself up about it. I do that a lot, but you know, since doing a bit of work on myself, it's like I don't do that as much because I realize that can actually eat you alive and hinder your performance. So it has to be a healthy obsession, you know, and I guess that it just depends on where your obsession's coming from. It's like, is it a healthy obsession or is it an unhealthy obsession? At times I had an unhealthy obsession and that did really bad things for my overall health and health as a fighter, and it brought the worst things. You know, I was my worst self when I had an unhealthy obsession, and now I feel the scales are a bit more balanced and I have more of a healthy obsession with the sport. Whereas, yeah, it's like I am a fighter, but that is not only what I do. I'm a human being, and secondly, I'm a fighter. And before it was probably the other way around, and now it's a little bit more, you know, like I'm a person, you know, and I'm much more than just a fighter, you know. So, yeah, realizing that, like I said, it's like more of a healthy obsession rather than an unhealthy obsession. But I think anyone to get to the UFC, they have to be somewhat obsessed, you know, like to even train for that many years on end just to acquire those skills. You have to be obsessed, you know what I mean? Like I'm sure you talk to any artist or painter, and I guess like they're obsessed with what they do too, and that's why they can create beautiful artwork, right? It's the same with a mixed martial artist, you know. You definitely do have to be, and yeah, I've been like chipping away at it for fucking 20 years, so many years now that like I guess now is like it's not as, I don't know, I guess as big of a deal as it once was. Like as in like I'm obsessed with it, but I don't watch every single fight. I don't pay attention to every single UFC fight. It's like, you know, I couldn't even tell you like all the bantamweights in the UFC, like outside the top 15. I wouldn't even know the top 15. I'm like, I know a couple guys. I know that Merab's a champ, and I'll obviously watch all these pay-per-views live, but I don't go back and rewatch fights in my spare time. I watch movies. I'm a normal fucking person. You know what I mean? So, like I said, it has to be a healthy obsession. You need some sort of balance, otherwise you crack, you know? So yeah.
And finally, for me, I thank you so much for the time, Cody. It's always a pleasure.
No, it's all good.
Your
Once
teammate.
you get me talking, I don't stop. So
Yeah.
I'm sure you're gonna have heaps of fucking footage.
No, it's good, man. They clicked on it to listen to you, not to listen to me.
Yeah.
But I spoke to your teammate Quillen earlier. He will be making his UFC debut in UFC Sydney. Has there been any talk of getting you on that card? When can Australia see you fight?
Man, I'm working towards Sydney, and I really hope that they book me in Sydney. Yeah, I mean, like, to be honest, regardless if I haven't heard back, from them, when Quillen like starts ramping things up, I'll be in camp ramping things up just in case that they do get me a fight on in Sydney. And yeah, as it hits, you know, I think the fight is 9th of February, the Sydney card, right?
I believe so, yes.
So yeah, 9th of December, I'm back in camp. Like, you know, it's like good 8-9 weeks before then. Like, I'm already training now, but I'll start sending it fully, with or without an opponent. I'm preparing for Sydney, you know. So yeah, I'm sure they will put me on. Yeah, but at the moment, like, haven't really heard anything, and we are working on it though. So I mean, they haven't even matched all the cards like this year, let alone like for next year. So I'm pretty sure they're gonna get me on, but like I said, we're working on it, and we'll just see what happens. Either way, I'm gonna be preparing for it.
Cody, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. I'm so happy you've made it. The 20 years have paid off, and you have made it. Congratulations on that, my friend. It's a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.